Genre. Today we're going to be talking about genre and how it's changed and developed over time. The definition of genre is the idea of a category or style. Over the decades, genre has changed dramatically in terms of its importance in the movie making industry. It's changed from this loose idea that didn't mean much to this key element which is used to shape and structure a movie. There are many different genres in the movie industry, and they consist of horror, drama, thriller, romantic, comedy, or even animation. What is a hybrid? A hybrid is a film that consists of two different opposing genres. For example, Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is a parody, and it consists of horror and comedy, and it's really done well by Simon Pegg and his team, and really creates this brilliant hybrid of a movie. There are 5 key elements when we talk about the idea of genre structure, and the elements consist of iconography, character roles, narrative structure, visual ideas, and values and themes. Iconography. Using iconography, you can help identify a genre using different visual images or symbols. Say if you was talking about a movie like Reservoir Dogs or The Godfather, the image of a gun would signify the genre of crime and drama to the audience. Character roles. You use character roles to identify a specific genre. So, for example, if you see a clown, this could symbol the idea of horror and depict that genre. Narrative structure. Narrative structure is very important when deciding on a genre, as if you was to use a basic structure, it would be like a horror movie or an animation. But if you was going to use a complicated structure with lots of different elements, it would come under the category of thriller or drama, and this really helps depict the genre. Visual style. Visual style is a really easy way to depict the genre. For example, if you was to see a movie and it had really dark lighting and you couldn't really see much light, you'd suggest it could be a horror. However, if it was a very bright movie and there was a lot of colour, you could possibly see a romantic movie through that, or an animation. Finally, values and themes. Values and themes can help depict the genre as well. Using a different theme, you can really get a clear understanding or idea about the genre. Over time, genres changed a lot, and the way people use genre to create different atmospheres in their movie has become more important. There are 4 very obvious structure of how genres changed over time. It consists of innovation, classical, parody, and deconstruction. Innovation. Innovation is the idea of someone coming up with a new idea, original idea of a movie, such as Toy Story when it first came out. That was an original idea, and it innovated the entire future of animation. Classical period. This is a really important period in genre over time, as it's where most of the movies have been made. For example, after Toy Story, all the films after that, up till Sausage Party, have all been classical. The Incredibles, Monsters Inc., Lady and the Tramp, all of them. Parody. Parody is another important part of genre over time, as it's the point where the audience have obviously become quite bored with the generic idea of the genre. So for example, animation. Sausage Party in 2016 by Seth Rogen was made to lighten things up a bit in the animation genre. It really took the mickey out of animation beforehand, and similar to Scary Movie in the horror movie genre, it really lightened things up a bit and took the mickey out of all of the other horror movies before it. Deconstruction. Deconstruction is where the cycle restarts to the beginning. So for example, The Artist, made in 2012, it recreated the idea of a black and white movie, and really made the audience engaged once again. I am now going to be talking about my two favourite genres and movies I like within them. My two favourite genres are comedy and thriller. I really enjoy the genre thriller, as a lot of impact is created before the initial idea, and I love the thrill and the idea of being on the edge of your seat. I never like to be bored when I'm watching a movie, so that's why I love thriller, and also why I love comedy, as comedy, if it's done right, is just hilarious and really engaging, and that's why I love it so much. My examples of my favourite films in each of these genres are Taxi Driver by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro and Jodie Foster, and Step Brothers by Adam McKay, starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Taxi Driver. I'm going to be talking about the opening 5 minutes of the movie, because talking about the entire movie would be too long, because it's such a great and creative movie, and Martin Scorsese did such a brilliant job directing and controlling the idea of the movie. In the opening 5 minutes of Taxi Driver, we learn a lot about the genre, and we can already indicate by the first moment when the taxi drives through a gust of smoke that there's going to be a lot of action. And this really depicts the idea of thriller, and we already know that by the first few minutes. The gust of smoke suggests a polluted city, and in a few minutes we find out that that city is New York, and we know behind the scenes that New York is a very violent city. As soon as applies to be a cab driver, we learn a lot about his character. We know that his age is 26 years old, and we also know that he used to be in the Marines, and this also depicts violence, and this is a key theme in the film which we already know about the genre structure. In his first monologue, he describes the people of the street as garbage. Now, from this we already know that he has a harsh view on the people of New York City, and we also know that he has a lot of guts, as he'd go to Bronx, Harlem and Queens to pick up all the customers, only making $350 a week. The use of the dark and mysterious lighting already gives us an idea that this could possibly be a thriller. In the first 5 minutes, Bernard Herrmann does the background score for the entire scene. Now, this is the strongest soundtrack score I've ever heard in any movie, as it gives such a chill and excitement to the characters and really indicates thriller and possible horror. From these first 5 minutes of Taxi Driver, we can really indicate that the genre of the film is thriller, and possibly even psychological thriller. In the first few minutes of Step Brothers, we already clearly establish our characters. We meet the main characters, Brennan and Dale, played by Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. In the first 2 minutes of the film, we meet them, living their separate lives. One of them, Brennan, eating lots and lots of food and watching a yoga class on TV. And we also meet Dale, playing Guitar Hero and asking his dad for money for pizza. The two characters that bring Brennan and Dale together is Brennan's mum, Nancy, and Dale's dad, Robert. Robert is a doctor, and Nancy and him meet at a press conference, and they fall in love, and quickly they get married and move in together. Strangely, this all happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and really creates a beginning story already. Now, the first funny moment of the movie is when Brennan and Dale first meet for the first time. Brennan steps out of his car and Dale is standing at the door, and Dale says, "You have to call me Dragon," while Brendan says, "You have to call me Nighthawk," and Step Brothers appears next to both of them. This really establishes the genre, and really from that image you can tell that it's going to be a comedy. But I think even as early on as when Brennan first gets his bowl of cereal and his plate of crisps, we can tell that it's going to be a comedy, as he uses iconography to create that image already. And also when Dale is playing Guitar Hero, He's a 40-year-old man and he's sitting in his room playing Guitar Hero. That creates the idea of a comedy anyway. I think Adam McKay has really done a good job in creating a central idea of the genre and establishing that in the first 5 minutes of the movie. A genre can really easily be depicted by the way a director chooses to put a certain thing in a certain place, or the lighting designer decides to have a really dark image, or the editor decides to add a certain sound. Both directors I've mentioned really use the idea of genre to create a starting image in the audience's head and an idea of what the movie's going to be about. And that's me summing up the basics of genre.